Today, we're going to be talking about the biggest question that we get from new cash physical therapists who are looking to build a healthy, thriving business that can not only replace their former income, but that allows them to make two, three times more than they ever did at their previous job, start to get their time back, and make a massive impact in their communities and in their family. Ben, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, charging what you should be. How to charge premium rates, and how to go about doing that and structure in a way that you can comfortably not just comfortably live, but comfortably scale your practice, and also be able to employ people at and pay them what they're worth as well. That's a big part of it for those that want to grow and scale, is also being able to pay people what they deserve in this profession.
Right. So Ben and I are in the process of re-recording all of our course curriculum for our Limitless DPT program. And so today we're going to be talking about how to build your offer that attracts your dream patients, commands premium rates, and makes your value impossible to ignore. So when you tell people your price, it feels aligned, it feels worth it, and it's easily justifiable in the eyes of your prospects. So just a disclaimer, we didn't invent pricing strategy. We've learned from a lot of experts. Ben and I have invested over $300,000 in coaching and mentorship over the years. And so everything that we're going to be teaching you is the combination of everything we've learned from experts in the field that we validated and tested within Ben's practice, within Clinical Marketer. And we're teaching you what we've discovered that makes it easy for you to charge premium rates and how to communicate those rates in a way where it's a no-brainer to everyone that we're presenting them to. So let's dive into it. First, a quote from Seth Godin, one of the greatest marketers of all time. Cheaper is the last refuge of the marketer unable to invent a better product or tell a better story. And so many of you don't know how to communicate your value. You don't know how to design a premium offer. So you sound like every other PT. And so your last device to be competitive is your price. And you're suffocating your business from the inside out. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So what does this look like? What's the difference between what does charging commodity prices look like for your life, and then what does commanding premium rates? How does that change your life? And the really drastic difference between the two. So when you're just charging commodity prices, a lot of you might be living month to month, paycheck to paycheck, and it's just nothing but honestly tons of stress. You're worried about cash all the time. You're not able to pay yourself because you're not able to generate enough revenue. You're working multiple jobs, maybe 50 plus hours, working multiple jobs, maybe even four jobs at once, and you're not able to quit your salary position. And a lot of it comes down to one thing, and that's this pricing for it.
Right. And we did a survey where we analyzed the lifestyles and the problems of over 100 cash physical therapists. And these are word for word, the exact problems that they're experiencing. And you're probably experiencing that too. And so this whole workshop is about commanding premium rates, because your rates are going to determine who you attract, how much you make personally, and how quickly you're able to grow your practice, because the velocity of your cash flow coming in determines how quickly you're able to grow. And so a lot of you are thinking that revenue, like hitting 10K, hitting 20K a month, that's your target. But you don't realize that revenue is not a target, it is a speed. And so profit is a target. That's what you're actually going after. But a lot of you are chasing revenue, which is just a speed in which you're able to accumulate profit. And so you're thinking about it completely wrong. And so many of you are in a really difficult position because you have these fears around charging what you're actually worth. And we're going to reset all of that today and take you through the exact process that we've taken hundreds of cash physical therapists through.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the benefits of premium rates.
Yeah. I also want to talk about how I was in this exact same spot. I didn't
Mm.
come out of the gate, charging 200 plus dollars. I charged 135 starting out, and it was drastically harder to sell. Like, I got more cost objections at 135 than I ever did at 200 plus. And every time we raise our rates, we actually get less objections because you're attracting the right clientele. And it just people don't try and haggle with you because you're not in the middle of the road.
Right.
They're like, well, I can get PT down the street for 125. Can you do 120? And you just get that in this back and forth. When you're charging 200, you don't get that. The price is the price.
Right.
So, but when you start charging, commanding premium rates, people say yes because they see the value, is what it comes down to. You have more profit for the business, more people pay up front, you're able to pay yourself every month, you're able to quit your job, Because you're able to quit your job, your business grows more quickly. And because you're charging what you should be charging, your profit also goes up drastically because you're all in on your business. You need fewer patients to reach income goals. You're not as burnt out because you're not seeing as many patients. Because
Mhm.
you're not seeing as many patients, you have more energy to give to each patient you're seeing, which increases the perceived value as well and your energy that you're showing up day to day. You're able to reinvest back in the business. Now you can actually upgrade into a nicer space. You're not working out of a gym anymore. You can actually invest in a decent looking spot that allows you to charge, um, that commands that premium rate as
Right.
well. You can also hire on A players. This is the big thing too that a lot of people don't think about is you can't bring on PTs charging 150 bucks an hour. You just can't. You're not going to be able to attract talent because that you simply can't pay them enough. You could pay
Right.
them what they want, but your profit margin is going to be trash, and you might as well not even hire. That's what
Right.
it comes down
You
to.
didn't start your practice just to get more people to say yes for you to work even harder to make less than you ever did. That's not the goal of business. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of our story. We're going to get into the exact process of how we design our packages, our rates, and how we communicate that value. But right now, the things that are standing in your way of even getting there, because I think a lot of you know that you should be charging more, but a lot of people are telling us that they're just too afraid that people in their area aren't going to be able to pay those premium rates. They live in insurance rich communities. Why would they pay cash? Or you have concerns about your direct community being able to afford what you need to charge. You don't know how to provide services that are worth $200 per visit. You're not sure if you've had the right client base who can afford this. You're feeling that you're not confident in your pricing. Maybe you are charging premium rates, but you aren't don't have conviction that you're actually worth that. And so people are saying no because they can sense it. You don't think people will pay what you think you're worth. And people would rather go to PT that accepts insurance because it's cheaper and that's all they care about. That's what a lot of you are thinking right now that's keeping you stuck. And something that I want to say that we're going to get into more in a little bit is that you attract the people that have the same kind of beliefs as you. And so if you don't believe in your rates, no one else is going to believe in your rates. And if you think this is too expensive, I would be willing to bet when you meet with a coach or you meet with a mentor, this is also the objection that you give. You attract the types of people that give the same kind of objections you do, and you struggle to overcome the same objections that you give because you believe that they're right. And if you've never overcome your own price sensitivity to make an investment in yourself, how on earth are you going to guide someone else to do the same to invest into their health? And so that's the first thing. Become the type of customer you want to attract. And if you think your prices are too expensive, they are. And so we got to work on that first. And so that's what this exercise in this workbook that I'm going to give to all of you when we're ready to give it to you access to, so you can go through this exact workbook.
Yeah,
So
I want to talk about too about the fear of not people in the area not paying, willing to pay cash. So as physical therapists, we love research. We love the power of research. We not just research, but we want solid research that has large sample size. Am I
mm,
right? Okay. When you are putting this bias that you are thinking that nobody's going to pay those rates in your town, that's a sample size of one. Okay. We've helped hundreds of clinic owners across the US, smallest towns you've never heard of to the biggest cities. Everybody successfully can charge $200 per session in
mhm,
their, no matter in their area. That's a sample size much greater than one. All right. You got a sample size of over 500 clinics now at this point that we know successfully, no matter in all types of areas that can charge $200. Your area is not special. I promise you.
you're not a special butterfly.
You're not as much as you want to, and I'm not going to let that's the thing too for those listeners that really have pushback on that. I'm not going to give you that out because that is going to ultimately that is giving you the excuse not to have the practice that you want to have. Saying, oh, nobody's going to charge that. Now you are off the hook, and you can't control. That's something you can't control,
Mm,
supposedly, right? And so you just fold. And so I want to really challenge that belief that your area is not special as much as you want it to believe. It's not. We've worked with over 500 clinics at this point, have a large sample size, which is much greater in research than sample
right.
size of one, right? So I just want to make that very clear.
And we're going to prove it with science. Okay, we can say that to you all we want, but we're going to give you actual proof and evidence that this is the case, and you deserve to charge the rates that you know you're worth, and you absolutely can. We just have to overcome some of the fears and false beliefs that you have around your pricing, and then get you to really understand your avatar, why they buy, because a lot of you don't understand why they buy. Um, and understand what your services really are, because the more in depth we can think about each level of our service and how it impacts our patients, the greater we perceive the value of what it is, and the more conviction you have in the rates that you have. So we're going to fix all of that. But first, you got to understand the truth. People do not buy based off of price, they buy based off of perceived value. Otherwise, every one of us would drive a Prius. We would wear $15 shoes from Amazon. We would have a $100 phone, but we don't. People do not buy based off of price. The only time that we do is when the value is so unclear. The only thing we can make a decision off of is price. That's the only time. Break it down for them.
Yeah, so like so with my Stingray, if I tried selling you my Stingray for $20,000, would you buy it? I promise you, you would be able, because you know what the value of that is, over $100,000. I promise you, you'd be able to come up with $20,000 because of the perceived value with it, because we know what it's actually worth, right?
Right.
So people will find the money for what they actually value. It's just you gotta match that value equation. That's all it is.
Right. And so the greater the perceived value, the lower the price sensitivity. So even if you don't have $20,000, if Ben offered you that Stingray, you're going to go and talk to some people and find a way to come up with $20,000 to get that thing, because the value is so obvious. And so the greater the perceived value, the more you can charge. And um, what's crazy is the higher the price, the higher the perceived value. Stanford did a study a couple of years ago. Alex Hormozy talks about this, and I think he made this study the most famous, where they took a bunch of blind taste testers and gave them different samples of wine. And the only information that they had was the price of the bottle. And unanimously, everyone voted that the most expensive one was the best. They had really descriptive ways of saying why it was the best. The medium priced wine was second best. And then the cheapest wine was the worst one across the board. And what they proved is that because what the testers didn't know is that every single wine was the exact same wine. And so what they proved is that there's very real tangible value in just there being the price. It changes the way our brains perceive things, because when we have more expensive stuff, it activates the parts of the brain that are involved with joy. And so your price has a very real impact on the perceived value of what it is. So if you're only charging $135, people are experiencing that differently than if you're charging $200, all else being the exact same. And so your price has a big impact on it. And Dr. Baba Shiv, the professor of marketing over at Stanford, he said what we've documented is that price is not just about quality, but it can actually affect real quality by changing nothing else but the price. Now, we've proved this. Dr. Emily, one of the hundreds of clients that we've helped, she came to us doing just $270 a month. And she had been at it for months inside of her practice. She'd gone through coaching programs. We helped her increase her prices to at least $200 per visit. Within 90 days, she hit almost $20,000 a month inside of her practice. And now, just 2 years later, she's won our 7-figure community impact award for generating 7 figures through her cash practice. Claire and Philip, they're from a small, tiny Hodunk town in Wisconsin, okay, near La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is already a tiny town. They're a subdivision outside of that already tiny town. Super blue collar, factory workers. They said there's no chance anyone would ever pay $2,000 for cash packages. They've been in business for 2 years. They're on the verge of shutting down. Philip was working 2 jobs. They weren't in a position to argue with us, and they came to us off of a referral. So they just listened. And because they listened, started selling packages, and they reached $20,000 a month within 90 days and generated $30,000 within 60 days, which is crazy. And so what this proved was that no matter how small your town is, if every other clinic in town is an insurance-based clinic, there is a pocket of people who are desperate for something that is better. And so the smaller the town, we've actually found that cash practices charging premium rates actually do better, because there's such a large pocket of people that didn't get results with the available solutions that are out there. And now they're doing $130,000 a month inside of their practice, another one of our 7-figure community award winners. So science backs this up. The data backs this up. We've seen it happen hundreds and hundreds of times. You can do this. You just have to get over your own fears. Now, Ben's story, I think, is pretty inspiring for this thing. Take him through like your price journey, Ben.
Yeah, so I also want to preface that I started my practice in Oakland, California, where I moved across the country, took a traveling contract for 13 weeks, thought, oh, let's try the cash thing here. I'll take what I learn. And I wasn't planning on like staying there long term. I was just kind of playing around with the cash idea. And it's like, wherever I settle, I'll take what I learn and open the clinic wherever I settle down and take what I learned and hopefully be more successful than this run. So Oakland, California, I wouldn't think most people would think is would be on top of their list for to open a successful cash based practice, right? So today that is the largest cash based practice in the U.S. for my knowledge. So they can let me know if they know of information that disproves that. Open to hearing about that. But from my knowledge, it's the largest cash based practice in the US. Oakland's average household income is 101,000 a year. For context, to live comfortably in Oakland, California, if you're married and have at least one kid, you need to make $315,000 per year.
Not a lot of disposable income in Oakland, California.
No, there's not. It's the cost of living super high and the income is low. And so you just don't have a whole lot of disposable income. However, we charge $250 per session and have no issue doing. We have 9 full-time PTs. They all see over 32 visits. Okay. So we're supposed to generate three based on the visits that are on the schedule. We have 1,500 visits on the schedule right now. At the price point that we're at, that's over $300,000 a month that we're going to generate off of 100% cash pay practice, cash pay services in Oakland, California. Okay, so last year my practice generated 2.8 with $680,000 in profit. I don't say this to like brag. I don't want it to like come off as that way. I want to just show you with pure numbers. If you are a very logical person like myself, I want to see numbers. I want to see exact data. I want to show proof of somebody else being successful in it because if I have the mindset, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do, that if somebody else can be successful and I can see it, I know that I can do that too. So that's why I'm sharing this story. So my average price per visit is 250 and my profit margin has grown 25% year over year. And we're on track to generate over $1 million in profit in 2026.
Crazy.
And and I just tell you this because I was exactly where you guys might be at. When I started, I was like I mentioned, I was charging $135. I was terrified. With some encouragement, I increased it to 145. Lost sleep over this, thinking it was a huge jump. And my conversion rate didn't drop at all. In fact, it actually increased. And it's always increased every time I increase my rates. I get fewer objections. I don't have as many people trying to price shop. I don't have as many people trying to negotiate. And on top of that, patients are happier. Kind of goes back to what Jordan was talking about with perceived value. When I was charging these lower rates, I dealt with more upset patients seeing just whether it's just me and one other provider than I do with 9 full-time PTs charging 250. Okay. It's because of the perceived value that comes with it. So then a few months later, I increased my rates to 225. And again, no decrease in my conversion rate. Now I had the margin to make my first hire and buy my time back. So not only was I able to make more money, but I was also able to hire, which allowed me to get my time back. So I was starting to achieve more financial freedom and also time freedom. And the only regret I have is not doing it sooner. But I'm so glad that I did because of that in all of 2025, I only stepped clinic in the clinic 3 times. That was it. And it was really just to throw holiday parties. Like I went to San Diego and then went to Oakland and threw holiday parties for the team. Right. That was like the only time that I was in the clinic. Maybe that's not the vision that you guys have. Maybe you want to stay in treatment. That's totally fine. I'm just showing the picture of just how far removed I'm allowed to be because of what we charge. Obviously, there's more to it, but the pricing is what catapulted all this to be possible.
Right. And so what you need to understand is that there's zero strategic advantage with being medium priced. Okay. If you're being like competitive and okay, they're a little bit more expensive, they're a little cheaper, I'm going to sit right in the middle. There's zero strategic advantage because there's always going to be someone who's cheaper. There's always going to be someone who can offer a better service and a better experience because they have the margin in order to be able to do it. And so you need to either be one or the other, either the cheapest, which you don't have the infrastructure to be able to do and make the money you need to make. So the only option is being the premium, most expensive person in your community. And there's always going to be a market for that. Now, there's so many different advantages to it. When you charge premium rates, patients are more emotionally invested. They have higher perceived value in what it is they're doing. They literally enjoy it more. they're more motivated because of they made that financial commitment. Their outcomes are better because of that motivation, and you have more revenue per patient, which means you need fewer patients to reach your goal, which means you have more energy to pour back in your business. You can give them a better experience because you're not wiped out. Now, for the business, the higher the prices, more profit. You also have more self-worth because people are actually paying you, and you get that constant validation feedback loop that you are worth this price point. And we see it time and time again that people keep increasing their prices, and I can't believe that their conversion rate doesn't go down. And most of the time when they first start to increase their prices, their conversion rates actually go up. And so that does a tremendous amount for your mental health and your self-worth. Now, the perception of your impact, when you start making a lot of money, the way you feel about the impact you're making is huge, because our income is a reflection of the people and the transformations that we've created. You're also able to offer higher levels of service. You're able to hire better clinicians, different specialties, get better equipment, and create a much, much better experience and get better outcomes and provide a wider breadth of services than the competitors that are charging lower prices. And because of that, you're able to attract the top tier talent, and everything starts to snowball from there. Because when you have a great team around you, they start to take care of the patients, so you can focus on taking care of the business. And so in every category that matters, you are better off by charging your premium rates. Now, deep down, you already know that low prices does not equal more patients. Okay, a lot of you start out small because you're thinking, okay, lower prices means people are going to say yes more often. I'll build the caseload and then I'll increase my prices. Wrong, because you're attracting the wrong type of people into your business with those low prices who would never pay those premium prices. You're attracting the wrong person. And this creates a negative feedback loop in your head of like, oh, no one in my community would ever pay this, because the people you attracted would never pay that, because you're attracting the wrong people to build your practice on top of. Low prices do not equal more conversions. Okay, it's just as hard to sell $100 thing as it is a $200 or $300 thing. It's the same objections, the same beliefs, the same things that we have to communicate to get people to buy in. At least with a higher price point, they have a higher perceived value of what you're doing. So that's why conversions increase when we actually raise them. Low prices do not equal more profit. A lot of you are charging low prices and you think your problem is, I just more leads. I need more people coming in saying yes. But the problem isn't leads. Your problem is your profit margin. And by getting more leads and getting more patients, all you're doing is creating more work for yourself. But at the end of the month, you're still going to have the exact same margin. Your problem is not leads. Okay. It's not going to create more profit. It's not going to create more income for you. Okay. You're making business decisions based off of your fears and your emotions. And instead of getting better at communicating your value, you're doing the easy thing and reducing your prices. Only that's not actually making this problem go away. People are still saying no, they're still dropping off, and you're still not paying yourself. And so you're projecting your own price sensitivity onto other people. Ben, you love talking about this one.
Yeah, I mean, like if and it really irritates me too. Like I've had a lot of times when PTs start charging certain rates or increasing their rates, they stop selling on what the patient actually needs, because they are self-projecting what they feel like that patient can afford and not
Mm.
afford, right? And I did this, and it pisses me off that I did this, because it was one of the first patients I saw. He came in, um, didn't look like he had a whole lot of money. It kind of kept unkept. I was like, you know what? I know he needs a 10 pack, but I don't think he's gonna be able to afford that 10 pack. I'm gonna pitch a 6 pack, even though I know he needs a 10, at least 10 visits, but I just don't think he can afford it. Come to find out is that he eventually didn't bat an eye at the 6 pack. And it's like, oh, great, I nailed it. Right. Come to find out, as I treat him, he's still to this day, 8 years later, we're in the Bay Area. There's a decent amount of very high net worth individuals for tech. He's still the wealthiest patient we've ever treated. And here I was thinking he couldn't afford a 10 pack because I was self projecting and biasing what I thought he could and could not afford. And at the end of the day, I jeopardized his results. He did eventually, like as I learned about him and stuff, he didn't have any issues coming in after the 6 visits, right? And he did. He was able to get the results, but I put his results and his health at jeopardy because I self projected
Mm.
on what he could and cannot afford. And he could have very well not got the results that he actually wanted because I self projected, even though he would have been willing to not just pay a 10 pack, he would have been willing to buy a 100 pack if I really told him that's what he wanted. Right. So you are also jeopardizing people's health and their life to a certain extent based on what you perceive that if you are self projecting and
Mm.
trying to guesstimate what they can and cannot afford.
Right. We believe everything we believe about finances comes from the people that are around us. And a lot of you think people would never pay $150, $200 per visit because you wouldn't pay $200 per visit. And so it's so important to get yourself around other people who have different financial thermostats and baselines than you do to change what you think is and is not expensive. Because the second you sell your first package at $2,000, your financial thermostat changes forever. And you wish you had changed your prices years ago. And so it's so important to listen to podcasts like this, get yourself in communities, get yourself a coach who can normalize that new price point for you because it changes everything when you do. And so a lot of you, you're just projecting onto other people your own fears and insecurities around money. And the second you overcome that fear and someone says yes, it changes your life forever. Now, a lot of you, the real problem and why you don't understand why you're worth this much and why you can't communicate it is because you don't actually understand why people buy. You're downloading courses, you're downloading scripts, and you're learning how to sell. But what you really need to learn is why do people buy? Because when you talk to why people buy, all of a sudden price becomes irrelevant. And you sound like people are saying no because you sound like every other PT in town. And if you are providing the exact same experience and the exact same treatment that they can get inside of an in-network clinic, well, then yeah, you're expensive because you don't understand enough about what it is you're truly selling to differentiate yourself from the other clinics that are in town. So of course they say no. And you're selling something that at the end of the day, you just don't know enough about. You can't even convince yourself you're worth this much because you haven't thought deep enough about the problems you solve and how you go about solving it. But the more you think about it, the more you expand on how you deliver outcomes, the more you concentrate on it, the more you perceive the value of what it is that you're doing. And a lot of you just haven't done enough of the deep work to understand what you're truly worth. So you undersell. And so a lot of you are pricing yourself at a low rate because you want to get more yeses. But the goal of business is not to get a sale. The goal of business is to make money. And so when we price ourselves with math based off of our own goals, which we're about to do in a second, we have a calculator for you to map out exactly what you need to do based off of your personal financial situation and the lifestyle you want to create. When you base it off of math and you know what you need to charge to create the lifestyle you want to have, suddenly you're forced to think, okay, instead of using my price as the easy cop out, what do I need to develop? What skills do I need to develop in order to make my value abundant and clear so that it becomes the no-brainer and only logical choice to move forward? So here's the plan that we're going to do today. We're going to map out who exactly our dream customer is because we don't know exactly who our dream customer is. We don't understand their fears, their motivations, their aspirations, and the things that are actually going to move them forward because we don't talk to those things. Well, then our value is ambiguous and people are going to make a decision based off of price alone. So we have to know who we're talking to and why they actually buy. Then we're going to design your limitless package structure. What is your unique process for delivering excellent outcomes for that particular dream patient? And when we map out this whole thing, it forces us to think deeper on it. And the more we think about something, the more we value it. Okay. The longer we think about something, the bigger it becomes in our mind. And that is where the conviction that we're worth more comes from. So we're going to map out your unique process. We're going to productize it by putting it into packages with you. And then we're going to show you how to price your packages with math, not your gut feelings. Because at the end of the day, you started this practice because you have a dream, you have a vision for your future, and your pricing is the mechanism that you use to make that vision your reality. And so we're going to give you the calculator to determine exactly what you need to be charging and where you need to be in order to build the practice that you actually want to have. Now, if you're listening to this, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel for weekly trainings every single Thursday. Also, you can go follow Ben and I on Instagram where we're dropping new content every single week. And if you're looking for a community that centralizes all of our top trainings, you can go join Limitless DPT in Circle. We'll drop this workbook in the comments beneath this training once it is done. Okay, so the very first thing that we need to do is determine who is your dream patient. Ben, you wanna break down like what defines a dream patient?
Yeah, so really it comes down to what is knowing what their true desire is and can you actually help them with it, knowing and understanding what their beliefs are and who you also enjoy working with. That's a big part of it too. Like you might be able to work with somebody that you get great results for somebody. Like for me, like I do a decent job, used to do a decent job of getting results for runners, but it wasn't really that much of a passion for me, right? Like I liked working with like people that were like wanting to get back to deadlifting without back pain, stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'll help and treat, runners as well, but it's not like my true passion. So, and runners will pay too. That's the thing too, is they're very motivated. And at the end of the day, I still just didn't enjoy that working with them as much. And so I really wanted to focus on the um, gym type patients as
Right.
well. So
The
everybody's a
dream
little bit
patient's typically who you are because you're going to attract people who are like you. And so your dream patient is probably someone who is experiencing something that you've experienced in the past or doing an activity that you absolutely love. And so the four defining characteristics of the dream patient that you should build your marketing and your offers and your pricing around are the person who you get the best outcome for, the person that has the highest patient lifetime value, meaning the person that you've worked with in the past that paid you the most amount of money, someone that you would hang out with for free and has the highest level of compliance and gets the best outcomes. Okay, people that actually listen to you. That is who your dream patient is. And then put down their name of exactly who that person is. And you need to design your scripts, your discovery calls, your evaluation processes, how you communicate your packages and your programs around this person, speaking to this person's specific pain points. And this is how your price is going to be irrelevant because you're speaking directly to them. And to them, it feels like they finally found a practitioner who's literally built for their exact problem. And that's when paying premium prices becomes a no-brainer and becomes worth it. And so we have to know who they are in a very detailed way. The next, what we're going to do is help you define what is the hell island, their undesired situation that they're stuck in, and what is the desired situation they want to get to, heaven island. And when we can clearly define where they're at and trying to get away from and where they're trying to go, that's how we position our packages and get people to enroll without objection. This is the secret to doing it. So map this out, get crystal clear on your dream patient, and then think about what are the three key things that cause this person to move forward. And so for Ben, it was, they're 47 years old and they feel like they're way too young to feel this old. They have been dealing with this problem for 2+ years, seen other practitioners, and no one was able to find the result or find the real problem and fix it for good. And they've been trying to fix this for years, and they're afraid that they're not going to be able to continue to do their activity for much longer. So get crystal clear and think about what are the three main biggest reasons why your dream patient decided to say yes to working with you. Then you want to map out their transformation from Hell Island to Heaven Island. This is where you're going to get really, really, really specific around everything that they're experiencing right now and everything that they experience after they're done working with you. And so take time to fill this out. What is the tangible goal that they get? They're able to go back, or the tangible problem that they have right now is that they're unable to perform at the level that they're used to. The intangible goal is it makes them feel unconfident in themselves. They are losing their identity that they built. Now, what are the three biggest obstacles preventing them from being able to achieve their current desired goal? Then what's the old way that they've already tried it? What's their current reality like because they're unable to solve this problem? What are they most frustrated with the process that they've already tried? What are their biggest fears? And then you want to reverse that. Take the complete opposite. What are their absolute best case scenarios that they want to achieve that your process delivers? So what's the tangible result, intangible result, and what are the micro wins that they achieve along the way by going through your experience? And by mapping this out, now you're able to more easily justify your rates, and the value becomes obvious because you've communicated their problem to them as well, if not better than they can. So you're always perceived to have the best solution. And you've painted the picture of exactly what it is they want, which is not pain relief. You're selling them an identity. You're selling them a way of living that they want back desperately. And that is worth premium prices. If you're just selling physical therapy or pain relief, well, then you're just a commodity. Ben, you want to break down how we created transformation? So we provide examples within here that are directly from Ben's practice, so that when you get this workbook, and to get the workbook, just go to Limitless DPT community in Circle, where you can download all of our resources and rewatch this training. But it's really important to be able to map all this stuff out.
Yeah. So three-step process, like we have a three-step process. What do we actually do? Get out of pain, address root issue, and then work on performance. And that's our continuity program as well. Timeline, how long is this going to take? Experience, what was delivered? How did you go about designing the sessions? Where did you give them micro wins? Guarantee, do you have a guarantee? We have a satisfaction guarantee within ProConnects. I can't guarantee, I don't guarantee results. We can't do that and shouldn't be doing that in medicine, but I can guarantee that you will be satisfied with our level of effort and knowing that we put our best effort um, at play to get you to the results that you're wanting
Mhm.
for. Scarcity and urgency, like why do this now? Bonuses, what else do they get with it? So they also get access to their PT, communication 24/7, Monday through Friday, if they have any
Mhm.
questions. Okay. They also get sport specific screening as well. So we use Vault. They also get their access to their data on that and reports. So what other bonuses do they get? Investment. How do they pay? How they paid? Did you offer a discount for packages? Can they pay
Mhm.
with their HSA, FSA, stuff like that? So that's how to get people from what was their experience from getting point A to point B.
Right. And something that's important to note is that people, again, they don't buy based off of price. People buy based off of emotions and then justify that investment with logic. And so, right here, we're mapping out the emotional impact of where they are and where they're going to go. This is why they buy. This section is the logic that justifies the investment. Okay. So, they want to have absolute clarity of how they're going to get this result. They want to know when they're going to get the result by. They want to know each and every core step in the process that's going to deliver this result. You want to minimize risk by having some level of guarantee that's in there. It's like a satisfaction guarantee that minimizes their risk of moving forward. You want to create a reason for them to act right now with the availability that you actually have on the calendar, which is very real. And what are the other things that they're going to get that sweeten the pot that make them want to move forward? And then how do they pay? And so this is the emotional reasons, the biggest portion of why people move forward and why you're worth a premium rate. And then this is the logical reasons of why they move forward right now. And so once you have this section mapped out, now it's what are the three key drivers of your dream patient? Keeping them in mind. What are the exact reasons why they said yes, moved forward, and actually stuck with it to get the great outcome? Okay, so for Ben, the biggest thing that differentiated his practice from what this person had already tried is that it's 60-minute one-on-one sessions with the doctor of physical therapy that actually specializes in their sport. Number two is you weren't telling them to stop their sport. You modify, don't stop, train through what's going on, and help you not only get out of pain, but help you keep doing what you're already doing and get to a level where you're actually better than you were before the injury. Then lastly, strength-based whole body performance programming plus continuity. So not only are we solving this problem, but we're making you better than you were before. And so these were the three key drivers that got Ben's dream patient to say yes. And so put some thought into it and then justify why that key driver is the key driver. Now, this part is big. This is one of the biggest, most important things that you can do for your practice because a lot of you don't understand why you're worth $200 when someone can just go see a physical therapist at an insurance based clinic. This exercise forces you to think very, very deeply about why you're different and how you get great outcomes and what the results of each of these things actually are. And so you want to put in what is the number one biggest desire that your dream patient actually wants that they've been trying to get to? What are the three biggest obstacles that are preventing them from getting there right now? And then flip those obstacles on their head because this is going to be how you communicate, how you help people that separates you from everyone else. Okay, so if PT didn't work, okay, we're going to find the root cause of what the issue is and we're going to fix it. The biggest obstacle is pain keeps returning. Okay, we're going to get you to train pain free again, and so that you can feel confident in your body. Third is they've been told to rest by every other practitioner that they've seen. Yours is keep training while you heal. Okay, so we know what their biggest obstacles are, and we flip them on their head. Instantly, we're different than every other provider that they've gone to see. Then you want to map out, well, how do we do each of these things? So we have three of them. So break down what are the three most important things that you do to overcome the biggest three obstacles that they face, preventing them from getting the desired outcome that they truly want. And then you want to give each of these three things a name, and these become your three pillar process. Okay, this is where we create absolute clarity in how we create these transformations by speaking to their desired, emotionally charged goals. And then here are our mechanisms, our pillars of how we overcome the obstacles and fears that they currently have that creates the clarity of where they are and where they're trying to go. And then to help you believe that you're actually worth this, once you have your three pillars, well, then you map out, okay, well, what is the actual outcome of having this pillar so that we can say we have our three-phase bulletproof roadmap so you can outcome, outcome, outcome. And then what are the benefits to the patient? How does this actually impact their life? Not just their shoulder that they came in for. How does this impact their identity and their energy and their happiness on a daily basis? And when you go through this entire exercise and really think about it, it's really hard to come out the other side and still think that you're only worth $135 a visit. Okay. So when you go through this exercise, you think deeply on it, which expands the perceived value of it in your own mind, so that when you do communicate it to other people, not only do you have a framework on how to communicate it, but you also have the conviction that you're actually worth the prices that you want to charge. You want to take this part, Ben?
The benefits and outcome.
Why your process works. Just real quick, high level overview.
Yeah, I mean, you guys understand this. Like, essentially, why does other physical therapy fail your past patient? Like, why does traditional physical therapy fail your patients? What's your way, and why does your way work better than the old way? That's really the highest level. This should be one of the easiest sections you guys.
And yet, this is the biggest question that most PTs completely fumble. It's like, why are you different? This forces you to have a really well thought out answer that speaks directly to your dream avatar. So what have they already tried? Why did all those things not work? So that when people say it's like, yeah, I've tried X, Y, and Z, you can explain why that didn't work and why your way is better. This is what creates the no-brainer yes that gets people to move forward without objection. So go through this exercise and then map out what your unfair advantage is, because there's only one of you. And so go through this to map out, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to say to other people when they're referring to you? Right now, you think your disadvantage is that you're more expensive than other people. Well, flip that on its head. What are the advantages of that disadvantage? You can hire better staff. You can get better equipment. You can be in a better location. You have more time, energy for each and every patient because you have to see fewer of them. So every disadvantage you have is actually an advantage. You just need to think about it more.
The biggest thing too that we're seeing with scaling, to give you guys insight in this, is there is massive wait lists for all in-network clinics. Not because tons of patients want to go there. They can't find anybody to work there. So they have one or two PTs. They're leaving in droves. We have 9 full-time PTs in Oakland. From my knowledge, there's not an insurance-based clinic that has half that in our area. And so everywhere else is booked up like 3 or 4 months in the future. And so that's another thing too, is because we charge what we can hire staff, retain staff, and now we can get people in sooner. So one of our greatest advantages, we can get them in same week.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, and we explain this to patients too on the phone. They're like, yeah, all these other clinics are booked up. Yeah. They're like, why is everybody else booked up? And why can you get people in sooner? Like, they want to kind of it's like patients are kind of paying the ass, they want to throw shade at you for like not being busy. Like, actually, the reason that we don't have a wait list is because people want to work here. The reason that those clinics have a wait list is because nobody wants to work there. And so we have more people wanting to work with us, but they have a greater wait list. Why?
Yeah.
Because they don't have the supply, is what it comes down to, right? It's not a demand issue, it's a supply issue. And so that's one of our biggest superpowers, is we can get people in sooner. So you guys just want to pre-frame that so you can see the trickle down effect, that the pricing that I set 7 years ago is now having an effect on our practice now.
Right. And so we map this out because the more you're able to differentiate yourself by talking about the difference you want to make in the world, what your vision for the future is, what is it that you stand for, what do you stand against, and what are your core values, by mapping this stuff out and communicating to our prospects and integrating this all into our marketing, well, then we attract the people who share those values, who share that vision for the future, who can buy into that. And because you are the one who aligns most with their identity and their goals and their values, that increases your perceived value even more because people want to work with people who share their values. And so this is why we map all of this out, because it forces you to think, increases your own perceived value, and then you start to attract people who share those values, who then again increase the perceived value of the way they look at you. Now, the last piece here, before we get into the calculator to actually calculate exactly what you need to be charging, is understanding why people buy. Okay, you have to understand why people move forward so we can talk to those things that are going to make your premium price an absolute no-brainer. So we have to understand, what are their core desires, what are their frustrations, how is that current pain impacting their identity and their relationships, and then what are their greatest aspirations, what are their goals, and what are their fears of the future that our product is going to eliminate. And so what are we helping them achieve? And then what do they lose by not working with you? If they don't work with you, if they don't commit to this, and they go see an in-network PT that throws them on, a machine for 15 minutes and, they have to keep doing that forever. Like, what are all of the drawbacks of not working with you? And again, by mapping this out, you're able to defend and justify your rates better. And by speaking to these emotional motivations, you're going to get fewer objections and your value is going to be more obvious. Then once you do this, now we just have to productize your services. You have your repeatable process that you take everyone through to take them from Hell Island to Heaven Island. Now we just have to create your price structure strategy to put them into. Ben, you wanna talk about this one?
Yeah, so there's different tiers that you can have, and in this example, you have 6, 10, and 16. I would encourage you guys to just jump to offering a 10, a 16, and a 24 pack. That's what our offer is. Six packs, I did them for a while, and they can be helpful. It's just we really weren't getting great transformations for patients. So if I could do it over again, I would do one of two options: do 10, 16, 24. If your mindset is an issue, then what you can do is you can do 8, 12, and 16. I wouldn't do anything lower than 8. The 6 can be beneficial if you have, like, I'm calling it mindset issues because that's what it is. If you have mindset issues and you need to bridge that gap, for some people can be too much to do an 8, 12, and 16. If you want to trial by fire and go through that tribulations, everybody that does 6 packs, once they start progressing to 8, 12, and 16, they're like, why did I wait so long? So I just rip the Band-Aid off and do 8, 12, and 16, or 10, 16, and 24.
Right. And you want your biggest package to be basically, it's called a price anchor. In comparison to this thing, the thing I really want them to buy now sounds cheap. And so you offer them the biggest, best thing because it's going to create the best outcome humanly possible. But, you offer them the thing you think they'll get the absolute best result with. And you can downsell them to the thing that you really want them to buy, which is your middle tier. Okay. And so there's a lot of different strategies you can do this. Every business in the world follows this sort of hierarchy. McDonald's does it, suit tailors do it, hairdressers do it. So you always have an expensive thing to have the thing that you want to sell actually sell. And then there's different naming conventions you can do to increase the desirability of that. And so if your base level package is just the foundations, it's like, yeah, you can get a good result, but it's just the basics. Most people don't want just the basics. They want a little bit better because now there's a little bit of identity and more of the parts of our brain that create like joy and make us feel really good is in this middle package. Okay. They don't want the foundations. They want to be a little bit better. So we have the performance package or we have the bulletproof package. And so structure your packages to price anchor the thing you really want to sell, and then give them naming conventions that steer people to the package that you ultimately want to sell. Now, once you have those things, we have a price calculator in here. Again, you can get this document at Limitless DPT. It's a circle community with cash DPTs where we're dropping new training and resources every single week. And what this calculator is going to do is it's going to set your prices based off of the dream practice you want to have in your current situation. And so we're going to start this over. Okay, so what are the visit tiers that you just set? Are you a solo clinician or a team practice? Most of you are probably solo. And so your monthly rent is probably, I don't know, $2,000. What's your marketing spend? And now you should set this based off of where you're trying to be. Okay, because if you set your price off of zero marketing spend, well, then guess what? When you do have a busier practice and you have patients in the door, you're not going to have money for marketing spends. You need to set this budget based off of what you want to have. So let's say $1,500 a month for marketing, which is what most people start off with. other monthly expenses, let's just say it's $2,000, and what is your goal take home pay? Most of you want to make at least $10,000. So let's say that these are our goals. Okay, we want to work, you're starting out, so you're going to work more than 40 hours a week. And if you're not willing to do that, you probably shouldn't even get started. You should probably just get a job. You need to put in the groundwork. So let's say you're doing 20 hours of treatment, 10 hours of admin every week, and 10 hours of business development out there in the community. Okay. What are your current evaluation prices? What are your follow up visits priced at? And what is the average number of sessions that people complete for one of your plans of care? Okay. What's in your current business savings account? Because this is going to help us calculate like what you need to charge to make sure you have a healthy safety net in the business to grow. And then it's going to calculate everything that you need to charge to have the practice that you ultimately want to have. And so, based off of those numbers, your average visit needs to be $227. Now, I'd be betting a lot of you aren't charging that much right now. But in order to have the flexibility and the time freedom and enough money to reinvest into the business, this is what you would need to be charging based off of those really standard and average numbers. And then it calculates out, okay, what does your evaluation price need to be? $230. Follow visits need to be about $205. And then it breaks down how much you should be pricing each of your packages to attain the income you want to have with the number of hours you want to put in based off of your current expenses for running your business. Now, once it has that, it'll identify gaps in where you're currently charging and give you tips to increase your prices to get to where you need to be to have a healthy business. Now, if you want to learn more about this, you can join our school community where we have all of our top trainings in here, magnetic messaging, how to attract our dream patients, how to sell, how to become a CEO, how to run meta ads, and how to lay the foundation to be able to eventually build a team. Okay. Now, the other piece is if you do want to work with us, you can just go here, watch this video, and then send Ben a DM with the word limitless. And then we'll send you all the details like pricing, how it works, how we help practices, all that stuff. You won't be talking to a sales agent. It'll just be an AI. And if it all sounds good and interesting, then you can apply to work with us. So at the end of the day, everybody, pricing and selling is just a transfer of belief. If you don't believe you're worth $200 a visit, neither will any of your prospects. And so that's why we created this workbook for you to go through to increase your own belief in what it is that you're actually worth by going through the work and then defining who our dream patient is, why they buy, the outcomes they get by working with you so that we're able to articulate and speak to the core desires and problems our prospect has so that the value of what it is we're creating and providing them is a no-brainer. So it's easier to move forward. And the better you are at articulating the problems you solve and how you solve them, the more you can charge, which is why our clients, when they first start charging 200, they see an increase in their conversion rates and they continue to increase their prices as their belief increases and their conversions don't change because they truly believe that they're worth that much. And because they truly believe it, so do the prospects that they're talking to. So if you want access to this workbook, go join the Limitless DPT community where you can download it and access all of our other trainings to help cash DPTs build a practice that pays them at least $10,000 to $20,000 a month every single month. Anything to add, Ben?
No, if you don't have your pricing down, it's very difficult. Almost, it's really impossible to have true cash practice that's successful. If you to give you kind of an idea, anything lower than 150, you might as well go work for somebody else because the hours of volume with patients that you're gonna have to see on top of running business, you're gonna be working 50 to 60 hours. It's just what it comes down to, and you're gonna have to keep doing that. The reason you have to keep doing that is because you're not gonna be able to find any talent. If you can't find any talent, you can't replace yourself. So you're stuck in this hamster wheel. If you're between 150 to 200, you might be able to get back to being able to treat under 40 hours, like get back to like 40 to 50 hours worked. But in the day, you're not gonna be able to ever replace yourself because your profit margins aren't healthy. You have to be charging if you want to get your time back and not just have a lifestyle business and have true business. You have to be charging $200 and above. It's just
Right.
simple as that.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, drop workbook in the comments. So I'll follow up with you to make sure you get this workbook and the calculator in your hands so you can figure out exactly what you need to be charging to build the practice of your dreams.